Hello everyone, and thank you for being here. Today we are debating an important question. Should Africa focus only on building self-sustained research capacities in genetics, or is international collaboration essential? We represent the affirmative side, supporting international collaboration in genetics, especially for training and capacity building, but with safeguard for genomic data protection. This is Mihajar Ziadi, PhD candidate in molecular cell biology from Algeria, and I'm honored to present our case today. With this background, let me explain why genetics and genomics are so crucial for Africa today. Genetics and genomics are the center of the global revolution in medicine, helping us understand the molecular basis of diseases and how they affect individuals differently. They form the backbone of precision medicine, where treatment and preventive strategies are tailored to each person's genetic profile, improving effectiveness and reducing risk. Across the board, investment in genomics are shaping the future of healthcare and scientific discovery. And Africa holds the world's greatest genetic diversity and biodiversity, making it a unique reservoir for groundbreaking discoveries in health and biotechnology. Alongside this, the continent is rich in natural resources that can serve as a raw material to support biotechnological innovation and genomic research. However, to fully unlock this potential, African nations must work together in unity, building collaborative frameworks that strengthen research and ensure shared benefits for all. Saudi Arabia shows as a clear example of strategic international collaboration. Through Vision 2030, they recruited international experts to work directly within their institution, ensuring that local scientists were trained, mentored, and empowered. At the same time, they sent students abroad to the world's top universities to gain advanced degrees, research experience, and global networks. When these students returned home, they contributed far more than their diplomas. They brought back leadership, skills, and connections that strengthened the national scientific ecosystem. Africa can adopt the same model, using international collaboration as a tool to build capacity and accelerate progress, while ensuring African leadership and eventual self-sustainability in genomics and biotechnology. And our position is clear. Africa cannot develop genomics in isolation. Collaboration is essential. It gives our scientists training, access to advanced technologies, and integration into global research networks. However, collaboration must come with strong safeguards because genomic data is highly sensitive. It represents entire populations, not just individuals, and misuse could have serious consequences. This is why African leadership and ethical governance are crucial. Genomic data should remain under African control, stored in African databases and biobanks, and protected by our ethical and legal frameworks. H3 Africa provides a great example. African researchers get first access to their own genomic data, ensuring that international collaboration benefits Africa without exploitation. In short, collaboration is a tool for empowerment, not a pathway to the dependency or misuse. And for this opinion statement, we have three arguments. The first argument is training and capacity building. Genomics is not like traditional biology. It demands advanced sequencing machine, bioinformatics platforms, and years of specialized training. If Africa tries to build this expertise without external support, it could take decades and leave us behind in global science. International collaboration changed this. When African researchers work in global lab, they gain hands-on skills and bring them back to their home country. A great example is H3 Africa, which has already trained hundreds of African scientists, funded PhDs and postdocs, and created new research infrastructure in multiple African countries. These are skills and facilities that would have taken generations to build without collaboration. This shows that international partnerships are not charity. They are accelerator for African science. Next argument is African leadership. Africa has no shortage of brilliant scientists. Many are already excellent in world-class institutions abroad. The challenge is that too often they remain outside the continent, contributing to the brain drain that weakens our system. International collaboration should change this. One excellent example is Professor Christian Papi from Nigeria. After training at Harvard, he returned home and founded the African Center of Excellence for Genomics of Infectious Diseases. Under his leadership, Nigeria became a pioneer in sequencing the Ebola virus 2014 and later played a key role in genomic surveillance during COVID-19. His story shows why African leadership matters. When collaboration empowers African scientists, it builds strong institutions at home and ensures Africa leads its own future. Another example is Professor Nicola Manders from South Africa, who trained internationally and now leads the H3A BioNet project, a pan-African bioinformatics network. Her work has connected dozens of African institutions, trained hundreds of scientists, and built critical bioinformatics capacity on the continent. We also see innovative national programs like Egypt's Jussur Initiative, launched by the Academy of Scientific Research and Technology. Jussur aims to connect Egyptian experts abroad with local institutions, creating sustainable bridge of cooperation that turns brain drain into brain circulation. And the last argument is funding and technology transfer. Genomic is not cheap. A single high-throughput sequencing machine can cost over $500,000, and running a bioinformatics center requires a powerful server and constant investment. For many African countries, this level of funding is simple out of reach. International partners provide the resources to build this infrastructure and train their people who can run it. But here's the key point. Funding cannot mean giving away our data. Just as Europe protects its genomic data through strict policies like the GDPR, Africa must create its own rules to ensure sovereignty. Collaboration should allow us to use global funding and technology, while African institutions remain in full control on how data is stored, shared, and used. This way, funding and technology transfer empower us instead of exploiting us. Besides to these arguments, we acknowledge that there are risks in international collaboration, such as exploitation or unequal partnership. But this risk only materialize if safeguards are weak. With the right policies, ethical agreements, and strong African leadership, collaboration can be safe and beneficial. On the other hand, relying only on self-sustainability may sound ideal, but it's too slow and too costly for Africa to catch up in genomics. What we propose is a balanced pathway, collaboration as a bridge to independence. It gives us access to skills, resources, and technologies now, while at the same time preparing Africa to stand on its own in the future. So, for the rebuttal section, we have four questions from the negative group who support the self-sustaining research capacities to avoid potential exploitation. And the first question is, if international collaboration truly builds African capacity, why do most of the advanced technologies remain outside Africa, leaving us dependent rather than independent? And for answer this question, we take Algeria as an example. In Algeria, we already have laboratories equipped with advanced technologies such as a high throughput sequencing machine. However, many of these facilities remain underused. not because of lack of equipment, but because of shortage of trained professionals who can operate them and fix technical problems when they break down. This shows that having the machine alone is not enough. What Africa really needs is skilled human capacity, and this is exactly what international collaboration provides. Long-term and hands-on training that enables African scientists to fully exploit these resources. So, this is not dependency. It is the foundation for independence. And the next question is, capacity building should mean independence, not dependence. How does relying for foreign labs and mentors guarantee that Africa won't remain dependent once the collaboration ends? And you mentioned H3 Africa as an example, but isn't true that much of genomic data from that project is still stored and analyzed abroad, raising concerns about ownership and sovereignty? So, the independence does not come overnight. Algeria is again a good example. After independence, it relied on teachers from Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, and in higher education, it brought up experts from Vietnam and other countries. It also signed agreements with France to train students and strengthen the education system. Some of these students and experts returned and helped build the system, while others did not. So the lesson is clear. International collaboration was necessary at the beginning, and without it, Algeria could not have rebuilt its education system so quickly. The same applies to genomics in Africa. We need international collaboration now to train our research and build our institution. Over time, this collaboration will lead to real sustainability, but refusing it would mean starting from zero and moving too slowly. The third question from the other group, if African leadership is truly at the center of this collaboration, why do most major research decisions, funding allocation, and data storage policies still come from outside Africa? Also, they have another question. Whatever Christian happy is really the exception rather than the rule, since many African scientists remain abroad after training. So, it's true that historically, decision and data have been controlled outside Africa, but that imbalance is exactly why we argued that African leadership must be strongest, and we already see strong example of this shift. For instance, Professor Christian Hoppe and also Professor Nicola Murder. Together, their work shows that when African scientists are empowered, they create world-class institutions, train hundreds of young researchers, and build local infrastructure that keeps leadership and data within Africa. Beyond these individuals, programs like Egypt's GESUR initiative show how countries are training brain drain into brain circulation by connecting diaspora expert with local institution. So yes, challenges remain, but the trend is clear. More African scientists are leading, more institutions are anchored in Africa, and more policies are keeping data under African ownership. Collaboration should reinforce this success, not replace them, so that Africa moves from being a data source to being a decision maker. And last question for the negative group. You argue the agreements ensure sovereignty, but who enforces these conditions when the funders themselves hold the financial and technological power? And if international funding and technology transfer are truly empowering, why do African institutions still struggle to maintain expensive machines once the foreign grant ends? As you know, Africa is not just a recipient, it's a treasure for others. That is why collaboration must be based on a fair exchange, give and take. If Africa provides raw material and genomic data, then in return we must secure training for our researchers and experts in operating and maintaining advanced equipment. In this way, funders don't automatically control the decision because agreements are designed to bring mutual benefits to both sides. It is true that some African institutions struggle once agreement ends, but that's not failure of collaboration itself. It's a matter of the quality of agreements. Africa has resources that are highly valued, and this gives us bargaining power. If others are willing to pay more to access these resources, then we must use that leverage to secure better term agreements that include training, knowledge transfer, and long-term technical support. That is how our institution can remain sustainable even after external fundings end. So, after addressing the rebuttal questions, we can conclude that all our arguments point to the same principle. Africa cannot develop genomics in isolation quickly or efficiently. Collaboration is the bridge that allows us to gain skills, technology, and experience now, while preparing for self-sustainability in the future. When collaboration are carefully managed through African leadership, strong agreements, and data protection, they empower rather than exploit. By following this approach, Africa can become a global leader in genomics, not just a participant. This is not a temporary benefit, it's a long-term investment in the continent's scientific independence and innovation. And here are the references we used throughout this presentation. They provide the scientific evidence policy, report, and case studies that support our arguments. For those interested in exploring further, this reference will give you access to detailed data, methodological, and frameworks that we discussed today. And thank you very much for your attention. And I'm happy to take any questions or comments.